Hi, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. It's lovely to be here with you, where we'll be sharing some trends and tips to help you make the most of peak season for your vacation rental. I'm Chené from Logify, and I'm delighted to be sharing the platform with Suah from Beyond. Hi, Suah. Nice to have you with us.
Hi, Sinead. Thank you and the Logify team for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm super excited to walk everyone through all the trends that we've gathered.
Perfect. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of trends and tips and what we've got in store for you, just a few reminders, housekeeping type of reminders. So be sure that you have granted all the necessary audio permissions on your screen so that you can hear us properly. And remember that we don't hear you, but we would like you to interact both with us and amongst yourselves. So there are two ways you can do this. You've got the chat box function on your screen. So feel free to introduce yourself, to talk about what you're experiencing and where your rental is. But then, importantly, when you want to ask a question that you'd like us to answer, we'd like you to use the Ask the Question feature. This way we can separate the questions and it's easier to address them at the end of the webinar. We'll leave some time at the end of the webinar for this. Which reminds me, we'll be recording this session so that we can have future access. We'll be sending it to you and to everyone who registered and may not be able to make it tomorrow. And any questions that we may not be able to answer or get to, we'll try to answer them too in the email tomorrow. In terms of the structure of this session, what we're looking at is around 15 minutes of me sharing Logify's insights based on our report and our forecast for 2022. Whereafter I'll hand over to Suah, who will be sharing market data and actionable tips from Beyond side. And then we'll go to the questions section. So just briefly again, I'm Chené. You may recognize me from our blog or Logify blog, where we share regularly about 3 to 5 times a week. We share tips and industry news, which is a useful resource for vacation hosts and property managers. So do check us out on there. And then I've got with me Suah Kim, who is a sales engineer at Beyond. And she'll be introducing herself a little later on when I hand over to her. Most of you know Logify, and hopefully you're happy with Logify. But for those who don't, we are an all-in-one vacation rental software, and we help people to generate direct bookings by allowing you to create your own bookable website and to boost your revenue and your occupancy and boost your business in this way. So we're constantly trying to improve the product and make your life easier. And to that end, we are delighted to recently have integrated with Beyond. And Beyond is one of the leading revenue management platforms, and they will help you to boost, to optimize your pricing strategy to help you boost your revenue. And that's what Suah will be sharing with us later on. So now, without further ado, I'm going to briefly take you through the US vacation rental industry report from Logify's side. And just to explain how we arrived at our projections. So we've looked at around 400,000 of Logify's internal bookings. So our own clients, both direct and online travel agents. And we've looked at previous bookings. We've looked at bookings this year up to the end of May until the end of February this year. And our data team has crunched the numbers to come up with this forecast. So what have we found? First thing to say is that we've got good news for vacation rental hosts. We know that last year was a good year for most or many vacation rental hosts, and we're expecting healthy growth to continue in Q2 of this year. And this means higher daily rates, which of course translates into higher revenue and higher profits. We're expecting longer stays in the peak season and also earlier bookings, for the peak season. And then finally, direct bookings, we expect to see healthy growth in direct bookings. So let me break that down for you. The first trend is an increase in average daily rates. We expect them to rise by 23% in the US in quarter two. So if you look at the accompanying graph here, you'll see in the red 2021, April, May, June here, and then in the green, April, May, June 2022. On this, in the green side, considerably higher, with expected highs, the highest rates of around just under $300 per day in June. Um, so what we see in terms of direct bookings is that direct bookings, the growth rate for average daily rate is expected to be higher than OTAs at around 36 versus 20%. And of the OTAs, what is interesting is that we expect higher growth in ADR for Verbo. And now the reason for this, we think, is because the demand for vacation rentals for families or short-term rentals for families has been increasing steadily. And Verbo in the US focuses on this market sector. So this is where we're expecting to see more growth in terms of OTA bookings. Now, what does this data mean for you? Um, what the first thing to say is now is a good time to increase your rates. So, of course, always look at what your competitors are doing in the area, similar uh, rentals in your area, but you don't want to leave money on the table. So, if they are hiking their rates, then now is a good time to increase yours. Um, to capitalize on the growth in direct bookings, we'd advise you to create your own website, which of course you can do through Logify if you haven't done so already, and which doesn't take a lot of time. You can do so in a few hours. And in terms of OTAs, for most hosts, it's a good idea not to have all your eggs in one basket initially, and to list on different channels to increase your visibility. And if you are focusing on families, in particular in the US, then Verbo should be one of the channels that you should consider listing on. Um, right. The second trend then is that you can expect your guests to stay longer in this peak season. So again, looking at the graph, we can see that April, May, and June in 2021, the average length of stay was around 3.5 days, whereas this time around, we're expecting average length of stay of around 4.2 days. So it's an increase of 18% in the length of stay. Um, Oops, sorry. We are for direct bookings, we're expecting slightly higher growth in the length of stay at 20% versus 18%. So the reason for this has to do with the shifts in working trends, remote working trends, digital nomad trends, which we're expecting not to change in the future or the near future. And so to lock in those longer stays, what we would advise you to do is to really highlight on your listing and on your website how you cater for this market sector. So maybe you've got a nice desk with a view, definitely high speed internet connection, maybe some healthy living options near your vacation rental, such as jogging trails, or maybe you can even hook up with a gym nearby and offer some gym passes. Whatever you can highlight to appeal to this market sector now is a good idea. The next trend then is that we're expecting to see summer bookings earlier this year. The booking window is expected to be 8% longer than in 2021, which means that you can look at receiving your peak season bookings roughly about a week earlier than in the same time last year. And if we look at direct bookings, then we can see that there you can expect the bookings to be made even earlier, a month earlier than the online travel agent bookings. And in fact, if we look at the whole year, we can see that direct bookings have a larger booking window throughout the year. So what does this mean for you? What can you do with this data? So you can expect summer bookings to start coming in from any time from around now. So now is the time. There's no time to waste. Now is the time to refresh your listings, refresh your website, to update your property if it's in need of a facelift. And also to focus on marketing. So marketing on social media, and highlighting those options that might appeal to the peak season market. So whether it's a patio, backyard, barbecue, swimming pool, now's the time to start playing up those features in your marketing. It's not too early. In fact, if you wait too long, it may be too late. So the last trend is direct bookings are showing growth. We're seeing that direct bookings, in fact, are gaining ground on OTAs every year, slowly but surely. And this year, it will make an even bigger slice of the overall vacation rental pie with 23% versus 77%. So the reason for this is, again, as a possible aftermath or leftover of the COVID pandemic, is that people are seeking bespoke experiences, personalized experiences. And so it's a good idea for you through your website to to offer a personalized experience, to show how your vacation rental is different from other rentals in the area. How can you offer them a different and unique experience, and to manage your own bookings and make sure that your guest communications are also exceeding expectations and personal. So takeaways is now is the time to raise those prices. And now is also the time to update your descriptions and your listings and your website, to lock in those longer stays, particularly highlight features that appeal to that sector of the market. And be sure to boost your profits now and in the longer run with your own direct booking website. So that's all in terms of insights and tips from me at the moment. So I'm going to shortly hand you over to Suah, who will add to that with market data from Beyond, as well as actionable tips from their side. And she'll also dive into the platform to show you how to use Beyond to uh, optimize your pricing strategy. And then in
Thank
the end, we'll
you.
have the sorry about that. Go ahead.
Thanks so much, Chené, for the insightful tips. Hi, everyone. My name is Suah, and I'm a sales engineer over at Beyond. I do lean more on the technical aspects of our sales team, and today I will, as Chené mentioned, be showing you a few slides with the data that we've been gathering across the industry, and then spend a few minutes in the Beyond platform. So just to set the context, Beyond is connected to a large number of property management systems and most channels, which does give us a fairly comprehensive overview of what's going on there. So next slide, please. In line with what Chené expressed on how the ADR is on the rise up to 23% towards the end of the quarter, honing in on Q2's calendar, Beyond can see that the rates further into the future are even higher, which is great news for the industry. On average, in the US, ADRs are up 40% for the next 365 days. And keep in mind, this is pacing ADR, so we are comparing apples to apples. We definitely see higher rates during the summer season and then during the weekends in the fall. In further detail, summer is showing a 38% increase compared to 2021, while peak days such as Thanksgiving, Christmas holidays are being booked on average at a 65% higher daily rate. To capitalize on all of this, leveraging a tool like Beyond to factor in premiums for events into the future and then event detection, then to have those pricing seamlessly flow into Logify will definitely go a long way. Next slide, please. However, in terms of occupancy, there is a lot of opportunity to try to drive more bookings in the short term until the end of the summer. So people have been increasing consistently after COVID to try capitalizing on that pent-up demand, as we all may be familiar with. But it looks like this year it may have an impact the performance of the listings. So overall, the revenue per available night is higher during summer, but we do need to shift the strategy. And this is why it's incredibly beneficial to have a solid last minute discount strategy and also to adjust that pacing year over year. What Beyond does is we do adjust market pacing over the next 90 days based off of the market year over year data. And we'll touch a bit more on the last minute discount portion in the next slide. So in this snapshot, you could see that during summer, about 60% of the bookings are booked for more than 2 months in advance. On the flip side, we do have a residual amount that is actually booked within 30 days prior to check-in. So overall, during 2022, I would say about 30% of the bookings are coming in within the last days prior to check-in. This does bring us back to the last point that we made about optimizing a last minute discount strategy to try maximizing those bookings that are made in the short term. So as Logify pointed out, cashing in on those early summer bookings and drilling in on the importance of lead time that we are showing here with the advance and then the last minute bookings should really all be taken into consideration to try to help boost your profits. Next slide, please. And then finally, length of stay consideration, which is crucial. So the longer booking lead times tend to longer stays as well. So if you can see the chart right now, about 50% of the bookings for summer are weekly stays. So just as Chené mentioned, expect guests to stay longer. Last year, we only had about 25%, which is super interesting to see that spike. This means that last minute bookings are also usually then shorter stays. So in the US, throughout the year, 2 to 3 night stays are definitely the most demanded, but length of stay is slowly increasing as we talked about. So how can we strategize around this concept? Allow for more flexibility in the min stays as you get closer to the booking window. And this automation feature is supported with our integration with Logify. Next slide, please. So what I'll now be doing is showing you live in our platform of how all of this comes together, all of the data that we discussed. One thing to note, please don't worry about remembering all the areas of the tool as we will be discussing how you can have a go at yourself. So I will go ahead and take over screen share. Right. So we've been talking through aggregated data in the US market trends as a whole, but now what I'm showing you here is Beyond's Insight, in which you'll have access to as a pricing user. This is a reporting tool that provides you all of the important stats of your specific portfolio, such as revenue, paid occupancy, average daily rate, RevPAN, and more. What's helpful with Insights is we break out the numbers by showing you how you're pacing year over year, which is highlighted in purple, to really get a true sense of apples to apples comparison, as we mentioned earlier, on how are you doing this year versus same time last year. Insights can be a super high level view of your portfolio data, but we could also drill down into specific timeframes, such as the summer, to really focus in on the listing at a granular level. And of course, my internet is probably loading super slow, so we don't see it, but you can see we're drilling in on that summer timeframe here. Now, if I were to go ahead and click into one of the listings for a deeper dive, we're at the listing level here. So this chart is a representation of a pricing curve. Essentially an easy way of how are we pricing based off of fluctuations in the demand, now with dynamic pricing. You may be familiar with, setting a price based off of your high, low, holiday seasons, etc. But now with dynamic pricing, this is a reflection of your hyperlocal market demand. So Beyond is factoring in that seasonality, the day of week, and events that's relevant to your market. This is where you can really see that event detection that I did mention earlier about those holiday timeframes like Thanksgiving and then Christmas, where we are going ahead and having a premium price to drive drilling on those high ADRs. Right, so we talked a lot about the US market as a whole, but now in our market data tab, this will break down what is going on in proximity based off of your listings location. So this will give you at your fingertips how your, this year's occupancy is trending in comparison to last year's occupancy for your specific area. Now, after knowing how the market is like, what the pricing will also be like, it's a matter of how to use that data to really stay in control. So I'm going to head into the Customize tab. And the customizations right here, this gives you all the various controls and parameters to really drill in on a solid pricing strategy. And then, so for one, we mentioned minimum stays. So you could really easily define minimum stays during those summer months for a longer stay requirement, because we saw that 50% of the US market guests are staying longer. And then if we were to drill in on those last minute bookings with shorter stays, we could then add a last minute minimum stay. It's a mouthful, to then reduce the stay to 3 nights, for example, as we get into that 14-day booking window. And these are easily customizable, and you could define this based off of your own market data. Along those lines of trying to really maximize on those occupancy, we have last minute discounts. So last minute discounts, we use as another leveler to automate your pricing. So based off of certain booking windows, here we have defined that for the next 20 days, Beyond will reduce the rates by 10%. And as we get closer to the arrival date, Beyond will continuously reduce the rates even more for those last minute nights that you have remaining. So what's great about all of this is it's definitely not out of reach. Our integration with Logify, the beauty of that is, we'll be able to provide you with all these features. And then once you have set all the conditions in Beyond, the pricing and then the minimum stay rules, they will seamlessly cascade into Logify for distribution. So I'm going to stop sharing, and then Chené, if you could reshare your screen.
Sure, just give me a sec to share back. Thank you very much. Those were really interesting insights. Yeah. And it's great to see how the tool can be used to help you make the most of your, to help you improve your pricing strategy and boost revenue. So yes, I think most of you, as I said, are familiar with Logify. For those of you who are not Logify customers, we will be sending you in the email tomorrow a discount to try out our product. In the meantime, if you want to check out our product and just have a test drive, then go over to our website logify.com and click on the start your free trial button and play around a bit. And I think that brings us to the point of seeing which questions, whether we've got some questions. Let me have a look. I'm just gonna, I think we have a few questions. Let's see what we've got. Okay, so several people have asked about the recording. So as I said, we are recording live, and we will be sending a recording out in a follow-up email probably tomorrow. Yep. So we've got a question here from, I can't see, Ocean Lane. I have a question about PayPal. I had a renter cancel and I had to request a refund. She was not receiving it. When I looked at PayPal, it looks like it is stuck in PayPal. It never made it to our bank account and was never returned to the renter. I had to pay her refund out of her own money. How do you handle a PayPal cancellation? So this is, I'm afraid, not something that I know. So this is something that we will have to address in one of the follow-up emails. So I will have to speak to our support team and see how that's usually dealt with. So to be honest, I really don't know the answer to that question, but we will get back to you, Ocean Lane, in a email to see if we can address that question. Oh, I see Alberto. Sorry, I'm ignoring Alberto from Logify who's tried to answer that. Sorry about that. Alberto is trying to answer that question. Here's the answer to your question for PayPal refunds. You need to do it directly from PayPal. In Logify, you will only be able to mark it as refunded. This is because it's not possible to schedule automatic subsequent payments or make automatic refunds. This is only possible if you accept credit card payments. Hope this helps. Okay. Then we've got a question from Norman. What is the cost of Beyond? Sua, do you want to
Yeah,
take that one?
for sure. So if you were to sign up today, you do get a free 30-day trial. Again, you have that offered to you once you sign up. And then after the trial is complete, it is going to be 1% off of for every booking that we generate once you enable price posting. So it is a revenue share model that way.
Okay. Um, then we've got the next one. How can I get help at the same time from Logify and Beyond pricing? So we are integrated at Logify. We've recently integrated with Beyond, so you can access Beyond through Logify. But I'm not exactly sure whether you mean support or whether you mean how can you access both. So um, as part of the integration, you can access Beyond from within the Logify platform. But in terms of support, you would have to deal with both separately. I think so. If I'm happy to stand corrected from anyone on my team if that's not the case. Anything you want to say on that topic, Sua?
Yeah. So again, I don't know if it's necessarily the support side of things or if it's to get set up with both systems at the same time. But if it is to get set up with both systems, definitely recommend getting started with Logify first to really establish that PMS. And then once you have everything in place, that is when you could sign up with Beyond, and then you could easily just connect your Logify account with Beyond's account and seamlessly start pricing that way.
Great. Christina Linneman is asking, I'm in the 90 days it takes for Verbo to connect to Logify. If I get Beyond now, will it only work with my Logify or Airbnb calendar, or can I get it to feed to Verbo too? Um, Sua, are you able to answer that one?
Yeah, so while you're in that waiting period to get connected between Logify and VRBO, the great part is Beyond does have the capabilities to integrate with Verbo. So if you wanted to start syncing pricing now and use Beyond with Logify, you can also go ahead and there's an option to link another account and then also link your Verbo account. And so it will distribute both to Logify and then Logify will distribute that to Airbnb and then Beyond will distribute out to Verbo directly. So it is possible.
Okay, how does your pricing discern between property types? Are you comparing a 3-bed with a 6-bed?
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead.
So with our market data, the market data that I mentioned and showed you, we are leaning on, we do drill in on specific bedroom types. So a 3-bedroom, it's probably going to be different demand compared to a 6-bedroom, and also the length of stay is probably going to vary as well. So for the market data, we do drill in the seasonality based off of the bedroom type. Now, how pricing goes, this is where everything is stems down to what we call our base pricing. So our base price is essentially the starting point of all pricing fluctuations. So what you have defined as your base price for a 6-bedroom will probably be a lot higher compared to a 3-bedroom, and then pricing will fluctuate based off of that.
Fantastic. How can we make sure a cancellation from Airbnb clears on the Logify calendar? So far, I have to delete the link and put it back in for the dates to clear up. So the short answer is I don't know because I'm not on the tech team, but I will again. This is one we can follow up in an email with the tech team. I'm sure there is an easy solution, but this is not something I am familiar with, so I cannot answer this directly. We'll also see if I can get one of the team to answer me while I go through the other questions or to answer this one. But if not, don't worry. Any of the questions, I see there are some questions popping up in the chat box also. So it's better to put them in the question and answer, ask your question section so that we have them separate and we don't lose them. But either way, we will address all the questions afterwards. So don't worry about that. How can I change from main domain to subdomain is what Robert is asking. Um, so I'm not sure whether that's Logify or beyond. Oh, main domain. You mean main domain in terms of the website? Sure. So this is again something our tech team can easily clear up with you. In fact, we have an onboarding team and our support team who are excellent and get really good reviews who will take you through this. It is not my area of expertise. I'm in the content marketing department. And then we've got Alberto jumping in. Thank you, Alberto, for coming to my rescue. Alberto is saying, can you clarify? And here is how you can register a new domain. So there's a link for how to register a new domain. Does Beyond work with the UK market? Norman is asking.
Exciting news, Norman, is yes, we are live everywhere in the UK. If you wanted to know the specifics and just double check, you can go into our support center and then search up where is Beyond Pricing live and then enter in your address that way for one of your listings. But yes, we are live in the UK market.
And then the final question from Antonello, how would you calculate what you generate as at what is usually generate without the help of Beyond?
So
Mhm.
yeah, it's there's different ways to approach this question. I would say if in the case what you're asking is like just logistically, right? When we enable pricing, like how does that differentiate for the billing side of things? So as soon as we sync pricing to all of the channels, any reservations that come in, that will be coming in and we will bill on those because again, we distributed pricing out to those. So you're using dynamic pricing. If you're talking more about the pricing side of things, we do have several ways that we look to compare. So we look at average daily rates, new maximum average daily rates for specific events versus all of your historical data, and then we also compare that with the market and pacing year over year. So there's a lot of different metrics that we do look at in regards to how much you're generating with Beyond.
Perfect. So I think we've gone through most of the questions in the ask a question section. If we have missed anything, we will be following up. And I think that's probably a wrap from us. Is there anything else you'd like to share, Sua?
No, just thank you so much, everyone, for attending. And again, if you are interested in a free trial, just go ahead and sign up. Click the link. I think it says schedule a demo with Beyond. So feel free to click that. If you want a portfolio analysis or assessment in further detail with one of our sales reps, you can go ahead and schedule that directly through our website. So thank you so much for having me, Chené, and the Logify team, and hope this was insightful to everybody.
Thank you very much. It was really insightful for me as well. And thanks everyone for sharing your time with us. We hope you've enjoyed yourself. Give us some feedback, please, on the webinar. We'd love to hear from you. And we'll follow up with an email tomorrow. Any questions, please be in touch. We love hearing from you. Have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.